Hi all, this is Aki from Bringforth. This is set 96, part 1, and I'd like to talk about black holes. And I'm hoping to get maybe 10% of what I know about them out here for you to enjoy. And it would be a good accomplishment to get 10%. I have a very good flow going right now about a specific explanation, so I may be able to get that. So let's start. A black hole is a point that sucks everything else towards it at faster than the speed of light. At its surface is where it sucks things towards it at speed of light. That is called the event horizon. Now, every object in the universe sucks every other object towards them. So that's called gravity. And you need a pretty large object like the Earth to feel a large amount of gravity. What you get is, on Earth level, something like a couple of meters per second, and that means that if you dropped from that specific height, it's gonna take you 1 second to reach the floor or the ground. And for that thing, it would take 300,000 kilometers, because that's the speed of light per second. That's on its surface, but if you actually put an object 300,000 kilometers away and start dropping it towards it, it'll take more than a second, and that's what you need to understand, because gravity doesn't actually apply itself at 100%. It lessens over space because there are things in the way. Now, a black hole gets energy from its surroundings. It radiates into the surrounding, but very weakly. So every information that touches it becomes englossed on its surface, and it's the most tightly compacted information storage medium that we know of. And theoretically speaking, once you hit the surface of a black hole, you become that black hole. And everything that has touched that black hole in time from now to the moment that that black hole will evaporate will touch it at the same time you touch it. That's very difficult to understand, because in our space we have up, down, left, right, forward, and backward. We have 3 dimensions in time. In a black hole, you have of 3 time and 1 of movement. What you have is all the time imagined as directions that you can move in, and only 1 object to move with. That means you become the black hole, and you have all the information from the past to the future that the black hole will have, and what you influence is your choice through those moments. So in essence, what you become is what in my religion is known as a 4th density being or 5th density being. It depends a little on how aware it would be of its surroundings, but I would say that it can be done by a 4th density being, so I would say 4th density. So a black hole lives in time the way we live in space. That's important to understand. And what you have to understand is, if you put a black hole of any mass and you just have it out there, and you put an object of any mass to just within the reach of the black hole's gravity on the very outer edge and let it fall towards the black hole for as long as there's time, it will not touch the surface of the black hole at 300,000 kilometers per second. That's very important for you to understand. It will touch the surface of the black hole at way below that. It will perhaps be 15,000 kilometers per second, but it will be nowhere near 300,000 kilometers per second. Somewhere on the interior it will cross light speed, and theoretically the space it's moving in has crossed light speed before it crosses the event horizon, because there's this thing called an ergosphere. Because a black hole spins, it pulls the space around it as it spins, and this region of space around the edge of the black hole's surface, it's not at the surface, it's 2 or 3 times the diameter outside of the surface. Space moves at 500,000 kilometers per second. The speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second. So you get a region of space where even if you move at the speed of light in the opposite direction of the spin, you will still move at least 200,000 kilometers in the opposite direction, even if you happen to be moving at the speed of light in the other way. You have to understand these things, that when you approach a black hole, the normal laws of physics, like the speed of light and such, break down long before you touch the black hole. When you touch the black hole, it becomes different. But long before you touch it, the laws of physics will break down. That's very important to understand. Now, as I said, a black hole radiates energy with this thing called Hawking's radiation, because space isn't empty. Space is made up of the lowest possible energy particles randomly generating and degenerating each other. That's how space is made. That's the only way to make space. You can't actually have nothingness. That's not a possible concept to have. What you need is the lowest possible energy particles in your universe randomly destroying and generating themselves again. That is called the background. To us, that's called the cosmic microwave background. One moment. One moment! Joo, hei, tänne vaan. Mulla on nauhoitus tuossa päällä, että se näyttäisi nauhalla. Tai ei näy nauhalla, mutta kuuluu nauhalla. Kuuluu nauhalla, jos ei se haittaa. Teen podcastia, jossa selitän, miten mustakaukut toimii. Mua pikkusen ärsyttänyt, että on tullut muutamia semmosia julkisen profiilin niin väärinymmärryksiä siitä, miten ne objektit toimii. Mun pitää vähän yrittää korjata sitä. Voi tietenkin olla, että ne on ihan väärässä, mutta tiedän mitä tarkoitan, kun tulee semmoinen olo tiedäksi. Että ite niin on ihan täysin varma, että tajuaa jonkun asian. Siksi mä teen noin lähinnä itselleni tonne podcastiin, ettei kato mennä muiden palstoille huutelemaan mitään hävittömyyksiä. Pysytään niinku tuolla omassa touhussa. Ettei mennä sinne muiden sivuille häiriköimään. Ihan hyvin löysin röökiä.
Mä törkkää löysin paljon. Törkkää löysin paljon. Kaleita.
Tulipas mielenkiintoinen ajatus. Ei pysty avaamaan sanoiksi nyt mitenkään.
Nää sunnuntait ei mitään tekee.
Joo, kyllä tässä pitää nyt alkaa elämään laittaa vähän sisältöä. Ei tää näin toimi. Tietoa on liikaa. Nyt pitää tehdä vähän kokemusta. Ei tämä nyt pojalla näin toimi. Sukulaisia ja kavereita ei jätetä tuleen makaamaan. Tämä ei nyt toimi näin. Onko ollut hyvät hiit?
Joo.
Oho, se on suoraan housut. Toivottavasti ne tuolla palvelut asti.
Onko siinä yksi kanaali?
On siellä vähän tuollainen vajaa, mutta me voidaan ottaa tuon vielä. Kyllä. Siitä nyt tuli vähän vajaa.
Näetkö hyvä? Mä menen.
Mitä sanoit?
Mä menen syömään vähän.
Joo.
No niin, mä oon.
Täällä mä almost vomit.
I had a friend come over. So, black holes. Like I was saying, what you need to understand is that space doesn't exist. There is no such thing as empty. That is because of all the elementary particles needed to generate the illusion of space and time. Those particles are all observable individual molecules or pieces of the smallest possible thing. They're not molecules because those are quite large, but I mean they are the smallest thing, and most people associate molecule with an individual of the smallest possible thing because that's what the body uses. So what you have is this foam called the quantum field or zero-point field or ether, depending on who you ask. And there's more energy in a sugar cube of that randomly happening than there is in something like on the order of several hundred galaxies. I'm not really sure of the numbers, but I think it's enormous. That is because our universe is exceptionally high energy, but as I've said before, the particles needed to generate the universe as we perceive it were generated at the Big Bang and at the moments immediately after it. So what we have is a study of how space itself became and how time itself became because space can't exist, because there's no such thing as absolutely empty. Now, if at some point somewhere in the universe somebody generates a more empty space than our empty space is, that new empty space is called a quantum glitch, and it will destroy everything it touches, and it will expand at the speed of light. But our universe is larger than it will take by a speed of light to travel side to side, so no such glitch will actually destroy our universe, that you have to understand. So even a new universe being born inside our universe will not destroy our universe. It will just make a bubble that will destroy everything it touches and expand at the speed of light. So that's the quantum glitch effect. Now, what black holes are at their surface is a particle and antiparticle destroying each other, and the particle escaping into space if the conditions are just right. Otherwise they both fall inwards because of the gravity. But if the conditions are just right, the particle will escape and take a tiny bit of the matter in the black hole with it, because the other particle went into the black hole and annihilated the matter in the black hole. You understand what I mean? So this will cause because antiparticles destroy particles upon contact and transform into pure energy, and that pure energy is used by that particle that was the remaining pair to escape the black hole's gravity. Kinda. It's not that simple, but that is an analog that you will probably understand. Now, that black hole slowly loses mass like this, but it sucks everything at the speed of light, so our universe's background temperature, or the remainder of the gas that was at the beginning that made time and space as we understand it, the temperature of the background universe is from what we would call absolute zero, or every particle being frozen in a moment and never moving again, is 2.75 kelvins above. Kelvin is the same unit of length as a Celsius, so it's a tiny bit bigger than a Fahrenheit unit of length, as in 1 Fahrenheit and 1 Celsius. So Kelvin starts at absolute zero, and Celsius starts at the boiling melting point of water, so that's around a 270 degree difference. So our universe is 2.75 degrees hot, and it's much hotter than what the black hole evaporates outward. So when our universe cools to a point where the black hole will start evaporating more than it will be sucking in, it will turn into a white hole. It will flash as a white hole as it loses its grip, and then it will become a point that you can never touch because you couldn't touch it before, because at the moment you were touching it, you were becoming it, and instead of basically falling towards it, you were projecting yourself as energy and matter interacting on its surface and becoming a hologram. And by that point, others never see you falling inwards because you touch the surface and become a memory, and you will be able to influence everything in the universe at basically optimum strength, but they will never be able to attribute it to you. That's a black hole. So a black hole turns into a white hole when the universe cools sufficiently. It flashes and it becomes a white hole. Then it starts to evaporate heat and it starts to shine bright white light on its surrounding until it cools below a point, or drops in mass below a point where it can no longer hold the black hole inside it. Then it will explode. It will send gravity waves, dark matter, and light outside. And every creature at that point can harvest that light for energy. So the last thing in the universe will be a warm soup of black holes slowly evaporating one by one, and everything gathering around the last remaining black hole, which then evaporates. And then the remaining people will have the technology, or the universe will by automatically generate a new quantum glitch, and then you will have a new universe, because there will be a new lower level of energy, that sugar cube energy that will never actually be influenced by anything inside our normal conventional physics in this thing, will actually start exploding or expanding again and create a new universe. So that's the time span of the universe. So that's the timeline of black holes. And at the end, you have the moment it basically forms the singularity in reverse. It will look like the moment it looked like when it evaporated, and it will shine the light outside by basically giving up the least valuable or longest held memories. And it will basically, I wouldn't say longest held, it could be the newest held memory, but let's say the lowest valued memory is perhaps the most accurate one, and it will reflect this one outside of itself first and then go in sequence. There will be some kind of mathematical sequence to the information it releases upon its turning into a white hole, and you can probably deduce what it's sucked in at that point from a random look at what it's actually throwing out. I mean, based on my estimate, that would be very good. Bum 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 bum. Events inside black holes do not happen. They do, but you can't actually ever prove that they happened by getting a coordinate that will have that happening to be presentable to somebody else, because you are everybody else. So yes, it happens. It's the same as saying that belief has no influence on your surrounding. It's like, please define. I mean, please define. Like saying that a positive outlook has no scientific basis on your ability to heal yourself. Like, how did you do this study? Because it seems to me like nobody in your entire field should be having anything to do with scientific research. I mean, it's just my opinion, but taking a look here. The light gets redshifted or, in other words, turned to heat or pure light. And at the surface it's not infinite, but it is very close. It is something along the lines of the age of the universe divided by the mass of the object. Something along those lines. Because at that point it will start to radiate heat as light. And at that point the objects that have redshifted away falling towards its surface actually start to blue shift or turn into light. All black holes have the same phenomena of spaghettifying you, but a small one takes you worse into the spaghetti mode before you touch it than a larger one, meaning that a larger religion will probably be calmer than a smaller religion. Because their God, or the space that is every space in time, is basically easier to get close to. Anyway, like we know from particle physics, nobody can actually touch anything. What you touch is the electromagnetic field of the other object. Your individual atoms don't actually touch their individual atoms. You touch the combined electromagnetic field which generates the feeling of the body. That is what you can touch. So there is no more deeper level to touching a black hole than being aware of a black hole. That's what's so dangerous about them. As soon as you are aware of a black hole, you are touching a black hole. What these physicists describe happening when you touch a black hole is actually them describing what happens at death. One end touches the sky, one end touches the ground. You are put in a place from which nothing can escape until everything else in the universe has evaporated away, at which point a new universe will be made and you are released. You will be in eternal heat and pressure of infinity. You will be in the presence of God, a single individual molecule that will outlive the universe and will be at before and after the universe was born. It will be at both ends. It is the longest living object that there is. It will be there. And it will have a choir of very shiny, bright things orbiting it that will basically give homage to it. That will say their existence is because of it, like galaxies. These people are describing dying. What I'm describing is the same, but I'm describing it from my point of view. You become the black hole. You don't actually become a part in the black hole. You are not an individuated molecule going inside the black hole doing things. You become the black hole. This is very important for you to understand. There is no space. There's no difference. There's no separation. But there is time in the same way that we currently understand space. That is what you must keep in mind. You are observing time as a phenomena that you can move up, down, forward, backward, and side to side instead of just forward. And at the same time, you will not be able to change your mass. You will be able to change your time. Your mass will be infinite. It will be both at the beginning and at the end of the universe. What would it be, and would you call it to his face, if you were faced with him in all his glory? And would you say to him, question? Well, yeah, God is good, yeah, God is great, yeah, what if God was one of us? Just a bum like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home. God was one of us. Just a stranger, none of us. Stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home. The only way to extend to find a newer acceptable as this is energy level that is lower than where we're going, because that will allow the universe to become larger, because it will have less energy it needs to generate mass and time as we understand it. So a more efficient singularity will allow us to become a more efficient universe and will allow us to live longer on the next lifespan, and everything will seem better, because longer life means longer life. That is the one defining attribute of better as far as we understand. You can voluntarily end your life, but longer life. Do, 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 do. We wanna see
If seeing meant that you would have to believe in things like heaven and in Jesus and the saints and all the prophets. God is great, yeah, yeah. God is good, yeah, 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 yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. Make his way home. Yeah, but all alone. Yelling on the phone. Well, the Pope may be in Rome. Yeah, yeah, God is good. Yeah, yeah. And the only way to generate an explosion more powerful than any that the current math and physics in the universe will allow is for somebody to make an experiment with a higher particle intensity at the beginning than was in the Big Bang. And this is actually possible by making a particle accelerator big enough. But that will take a long time to get to the technology level for. We would need a particle accelerator with the power of several black holes. Preferably something along the order of 5 black holes. But with the way we humans view technology, it's probably gonna be around 5 years from now until we explode our system into a friggin' quantum singularity.
Joo. Yeah. Yeah, we'll. No, we. Ah, okay. So you have a weed, yeah? Well, close the door.
So anyway, I read food before you
It's not.
You've been late. You've been late. First point, one. You're late, man.
Was it nice to read?
Yeah, it was good. Good weed. I'm making a podcast about black holes, so it's recording, so you guys will be available on the audio, but you're not visible. I'm explaining how black holes work. I'm hearing a few misconceptions about them that make me angry. Could you put some weed in there? I'll put some tobacco on my own.
What did you say?
Could you put some weed in there? I'll put some of my own in there as well, and some tobacco. So we don't smoke all mine.
بس جد هو بعد مع صاحبي ممكن أرجع أتذكر تقولي لا والله إحساس بالله حلو شو هذا أرد لما الحمد لله
Yeah, it's empty. Can you get it today? Yeah. How long is it going to take you? How long is it going to take you? Any idea? Okay. Alltså Yeah. I put some weight in there. Sit down, man.
I'm sitting down.
You're loony.
I'm sitting down.
You're loony,
This is called sitting, standing.
Yeah. You have very good couple of things in there.
Serious? What do you say?
I'm making a video about black holes. I have like 5 subscribers, so you know, no large audience base there.
How much?
5 subscribers, maybe. It's like 3 family members and 2 friends. I'm making it mostly for psychological reasons, to let them know how I'm doing, like every day. YouTube, yeah. Yeah, I'm uploading them to YouTube. I'm trying to make them every day on the laptop and like talk a little bit about what I've been doing, and then just maybe listen to music and have the recording on. Mostly for like, I don't know. Nah. I do have a couple of people who have paid me online though. Does it bother that I am saying English? Does it bother that I am saying English? Okay. We're both trying to learn a language. What? Yeah, still recording.
Well, I got a good video. Yeah? ويشي ومن حشوة
Joo. Teen selitän, että mikä on musta aukko. Mä oon pikkusen häirinyt, kun mä oon kattonut niitä musta-aukko-selityksiä. Niissä ei ole ollut hirveän semmosia tarkkoja. Kaikki niin tajuu sen peruskonsepti, että se on objekti, joka vetää muita objekteja puoleen ja se valonopeudella. Niin kaikki tajuu sen, kun niille selittää heti, että semmoinen pyöreä pieni pallo, joka vaan on semmoinen, että kun se menee lähelle, niin se on semmoinen hyvä tuulivaikutelma. Ja sit jos se koskee, niin sit on kaikkeus itse, niin se on sillä lailla.
There's no wind actually.
Around a black hole there should be.
It sucks in all of it.
Yeah, but it spins, so it generates a wind effect around it. Theoretically, if you find a non-spinning black hole, it shouldn't have a wind around it, but all of them, as far as we know of, should spin because the initial condition in the black hole kind of falls in swing.
What if it doesn't need wind black? Just needs a dark matter?
It doesn't need wind, it generates wind.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
the force, the magnetic is like more of a magnet or something.
Yeah, it's a fast-spinning object that's
It takes
extremely
all the
dense.
energy from everything around it.
It's a fast-spinning object that's extremely dense, so it takes space around it and moves space when it spins.
How many